I'm going to wait a minute. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the bottom line. I'm Michael Noland. Tonight is Tribal Forum 37. I had 36 up there for a bit, but if you notice, I changed it. Tribal Forum number 37, where I get a chance to sit down and have a live discussion with you guys, cover things in a more intimate way. And I just want to tell each and every one of you that I certainly appreciate you showing up because it's kind of tough when I don't have a specific um, uh, midweek day. It has been leaning into probably Wednesday is my most common day and Thursday my second most common day. And this is at an unusual time, and I'll tell you why. First of all, tonight we're going to be discussing the 2025 Beatles conundrum. 14 mono albums. What does he mean by that, Mildred? The anthology, and what? No Rubber Soul? Okay. But first of all, I do want to give some shout outs, and then we're going to discuss some of the stuff that's been being discussed here in the comments. And that way, as people filter in, we can all get started at generally the same time, right, folks? Okay, so first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Ben Scheidecker, who has given us already, before I ever got on the air, two shout outs. I believe both of them for $2. The power of two. First one says, let's get the tribal leaderboard going. Ah, you instigator, Ben. And we're also going to be talking to Ben with his second super thanks. Before we ever even got on, you guys rock. I got to tell you. Send super chats and comments for more XP points. Okay. So that leads me to discussing some of what you guys have been discussing. But before we get into that, I do want to give some shout outs, as I always do. I had Kimberly airdrop me some information about what you guys have been discussing because it's about as new to me as it is to you. And your discussing has nothing to do, it didn't come from me in either way. But we're going to try and figure it out, okay? And then we're going to get into the Beatles. All right. So on our last stream, the following people were so kind. We set a record, folks. All right. Well, you set the record for the most shout outs and the most money ever given on a single night on this stream. I appreciate you guys so much. Bill Hawkins came in first off with $50. Deuces Wild, $10. HK followed, brand new viewer, not too long with the tribe, as I understand. £10. White Monkey, $5. Django Thunders, $5. Rockin' Robin Bird, who will be mentioned again, $2. 45 RPM, $5. Nethead, $10. We had Rockin' Robin Bird with a $5 to be followed by another Rockin' Robin Bird, $5. Ben Scheidecker in with another $10. White Monkey in with another $5. Deuces Wild, who's very high in the points, evidently. We'll get to that. $2. Storm Cop with $10. Thank you, James. My oldest Patreon by far. Michael Boswell with $2. Stephen Fox, brand new, $10. And Rockin' Robin Bird again with another $2. That was followed by yet another two super thanks right in a row by Rockin' Robin Bird, $2 each. Then Ben Scheidecker with $2. We've talked about this power of two, baby. It works. Look at this. They mount up quickly. Deuces Wild in with $2. HK in with another £10. Thank you, HK. And Ben Scheidecker with followed it up with another The Power of Two, $2. All right, so now that gets me down to, I'm gonna dim this a little bit. There we go. Gets down to what some of you were talking about. What's this number one? What's this number two? What's this number three? Now, if you look, the first thing I thought, first of all, this is brand new to me, folks. I didn't push a button to get this enabled. This did not come from me whatsoever. All right. This is a new YouTube feature that they're adding. Okay. And if you click, you're seeing these little blue boxes, number one, number two, number three tonight. Uh, you click that box and you'll see the comment section disappear right in front of you, and you'll see community leaderboard. Now, since we're only getting three shout outs, number one, two, and three, I'm going to go ahead and read this leaderboard, which goes all the way to the top 15. Okay. And I'm not going to name the points or anything like that. But at number one is Divining Dragon, Christian. Number two is that you, Ben? It says Ben, and it's not letting me click. Ben Scheidegger? Was Ben number two? I think he was. At number two. Number three, Tim. Is that you, Tim? Yeah, I guess so. Beast LV at number four, Storm Cop at number five, Kimberlyn at number six, Rockin' Robin Bird at number seven, Dr. Insomnia at number eight, and let's see, Terry Rover, which I haven't acknowledged you, Terry. And I was going, has Terry been in the chat? And she goes, oh, yeah. You know, Kimberly, who's my producer, she keeps up with the chat a hell of a lot better than I do, so I can do my thing up here, right? Great placement, Terry. Bill Hawkins at number 10. At number 11, Just the Facts Man. Dwayne is number 12. Don, wow, Don, okay, great. Is that number 13? Gear Jam at number 14. Mark is at number 15. Okay. And you can also, let's say, you can do it, keep showing support to make it. All right. I see. So now, I didn't know what was going on. First, I thought it was this. I go, oh, it was pretty easy to kind of figure out. You go to the top of the thing. The first guy in was Christian. He got number one. I thought, okay, he'll be number one for tonight. I go, well, that's kind of cute, right? And then the next person in, see, my theory's holding solid. Ben Scheidegger, number two, right? It fell apart when Doc Somnia was the third one to show up, and who was number three here? I'm trying to remember. There you are. Deuces Wild. So then I thought, well, maybe Deuces Wild beat Doc in, but withdrew that comment, but maintained his rankings. It's kind of like the memberships and everything. If you drop off after 3 months and your color just changed, and you drop off for a month or two and you come back, you're gonna start at the rank that you started off or that you left off with. You've already paid those dues, right, to get that high. I like that, and I thought that's what was going on. But then you guys were all questioning what's going on here, what's going on there, and everything. And somebody was saying, is it money given and everything like that?
Just gave us a super thing.
I see that. Okay, let me go on down and acknowledge this. And by the way, folks, I always do this. You guys are keeping this channel alive. We've talked about that. I'm not going to get into it. Every 4 or 5 streams or on a video, I may explain what's going on with the channel. But it's been in tough times. You guys are helping us out so much. I appreciate it. And Bill Hawkins, Bill Hawkins comes in with a $20 super thanks.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Bill. And what do we have here? I want number 9. Okay. All right. So anyway, Kimberly and I, just minutes before me, I mean, 10 minutes, 15 minutes ago, folks, I didn't know this thing existed other than noted it. Like I said, I noted that earlier. I thought I had it figured out, and I didn't. Right. So I'm asking, I'm setting up lighting. I'm going over my notes, and I'm asking Kimberly, can you do research on this? And she did do a research on this, and the simple meaning of those rankings is the following, folks. And once again, This has nothing to do with me. I didn't push a special button to engage this. This was not even an option for me. It just showed up. Okay. But at least it'll give us an idea of what's going on here. And for those who want to participate, more power to you, of course. But it says that the leaderboard, because this is the leaderboard we're talking about here, those rankings I gave you are those who are the highest. It's like, well, this will explain it. A community leaderboard on YouTube is a gamified feature that tracks user engagement within a channel's community, rewarding active members and promoting participation. It's a way for creators to recognize and highlight the most engaged members, fostering a stronger sense of community. All right. I thought we already had a great sense of community here. But, anything that encourages it, I guess. I haven't had enough time to think about this. But it says leaderboard tracks various actions within the community, such as comments, replies, likes, and even completing challenges, which would probably include um, um, that would probably include, answering polls, things like that. Now, I know that these top three individuals are very active in my channel, right? I see, and most of those people that I just read off are extremely active on my channel. I engage with them all the time. So if this is that, and not just counting money that's given to the channel, then I'm all for it. But I haven't had a chance to look, well, is money involved and stuff like that. And like I said, I haven't had enough time to even live with this. And I'm sorry that it created such a confusion in the comments before getting on tonight. That kind of sucked, huh? But anyway, that'll give you an explanation of what's going on. All right. So, and then there's also, I wanted to acknowledge um, this final group of individuals. Where are ye? I just know you're here somewhere. Okay. Yeah, that's not the one. Okay. I'm trying to find the. The acknowledgement of brand new members, and it's not coming up, folks. It was supposed to be right there. I could have swore it was. But anyway, here is a list of several of our latest members. I just did a video, and we're going to talk about that in a second, and put out all of the current active members right now. The channel has 85 active members. If you haven't seen my new video, part of the reason why I'm up here at 6 o'clock instead of 5, actually I had set it for 5:30, was I was uploading my latest members video. All right. And that's a 23-minute video. I go through about three things in there, and it eventually gets to the point where I identify the top 5 classic rock bands that I would take with me to a desert island. I just saw that. It just flashed. Deuces Wild is in the house. Let's see what the gentleman has to say.
That's awesome.
Deuces, $20. Thank you, Deuce. I appreciate it, brother. Let's see. I wanted to clear something up from the last stream. I said Led Zeppelin 2 is the best 9-track album ever. I do remember you saying that. And I remember going, yeah, well, because it's a damn strong album. It'd be on the list, right? Certainly, Deuce. He says, but I also consider it to be one of the greatest albums ever. Me too. We're right simpatico on this. The one that got me into the band, he says. It was the one that got me into the band, my favorite band ever, and my second favorite band, Deuce. And that is no small feat. My 3 top bands in rock and roll are the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd, and in that order. Okay, so Very little argument from me as far as placement. I could understand, especially, a lot of people are into more heavy rock and they're not into the pop rock. I am. And besides, the Beatles can be as heavy. Well, I better shut up right now because some of this is in my newest video. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who watch that video, who are members, right? That it's a members only video. Understand this: a portion of that video is going to be on my very next regular video here on the channel. So if you're not a channel member, you'll be able to see at least a portion of it. And if you are a channel member, you have access to the full blown portion of that video as well at the same time. If you can imagine this, an early release all in one video. So keep that in mind. And after the stream, go on over there and let me know what you think of my top five lists because I was hampered a bit, folks. You know why? I used the list that you put together in order for me to come up with my top five bands I'd take on a desert island with me. And the caveat is this is the one that the top five bands you'd take on a desert island with you with their full discography, because this is a video I had kind of in response to Scott Lade over on the Prague Corner. He just did a video on this and gave his ideas on it and everything. I just couldn't get it out of my mind. So I copied the guy like any good content creator. Only I put my spin on it. All right. So look forward to that video. All right. So a big thank you and a welcome to brand new members. We're getting them all over the place.
My goodness, we just got another one from Deuce.
I saw that.
Oh, thank you, Deuce.
Deuces Wild, love the Beatles too. The power of two. Absolutely freaking lutely, Deuce. I'm just now realizing I can give you guys thumbs up as I see these, and I'm making sure that I am, because after all, love that stuff. I can't give you a heart just yet because I'm not on my main system. I'm actually looking at this through Kimberly's account as we're going through. All right, folks? Okay, so let's see. We took care of that. We took care of that. We are now currently at 44,927 subscribers. We are merely 73 away from hitting that coveted 45,000 subscriber mark that I've been trying to achieve, right? So if you know anybody out there, online, in real life, wherever, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a kinetic. I don't care. As long as you tell somebody and we'll reach that goal. All right, so that gets us to the point. Let's see. Tonight's stream kind of got cut off, tonight's stream I wanted to do an well, let's just put it this way. I was watching Joe Mayo.
Storm Cup just gave us a stupid.
Oh my goodness, he gave us power of two. Thank you so much, Storm Cup. All right, let me give you another thumbs up there. Brother, one of my oldest patrons, probably my oldest continuous Patreon on the channel, James Storm Cup. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that. Okay, so Joe Mayo just put out a video announcing that the Beatles are now putting out for the first time since 2014 a box set of the 14 mono Beatle albums, complete with a hardbound book. All right, and this has now become available on the Beatles website, evidently. All right. Now, Joe went on to say that he thinks it's a wonderful product and all of that. He had it before. He got rid of it, but he's not inclined to get this. It's well over $500. And that, per record, I don't give a damn about a book. A book should be like a lost leader type of thing. Shouldn't be included in the price. That's about $35 an album, which is about $15 over what those albums, if they had been available, would have gone for even 2 years ago. So I think it's expensive, right? And it being released again here in 2025. I got a question. are the Beatles diluting themselves? And by that, I mean diluting interest or the ability to sell certain individual products because they're offering a wider palette or a wider offering. For example, we've got this offering. Now, they haven't officially announced it yet, but we have got an announcement that there will be an anniversary. What is it, the 30th? Was it the 30th anniversary of the anthology project by because they're going to be releasing that book. All right, so now we have this box set of 14 albums. By the way, the reason not 13, it also includes Past Masters, which is now part of the Beatles' discography, official discography. All right. So with that in mind, we've got that over here. We've got this book coming out around Christmas time, right? And other content creators, and me too, to a degree, as I'm concerned, because why else would they be offering this book unless they're going to offer it at Christmas and then later offer next year the anthology remaster, remix, or whatever they're going to do with it? But we're hearing about this, and that's all well and good, except that 2025 is the 60th anniversary of Rubber Soul. All right. So here we go. Now, I looked up a response on AI, and AI said, that indeed, as a matter of fact, let's see if I can find that. I thought that was quite interesting. Uh, thought I may not have transferred to Kimberly's iPad here. Uh, but their response was basically that they're thinking that Rubber Soul may even still be coming out. Okay. So if that's true, right? If Rubber Soul is still destined to come out, I mean, the 60th anniversary, how can they ignore that? Right. And we want a box set, right? And we're going to be talking about a poll I'm running, by the way, and that's a way to get on the leaderboard as well, folks. Right now, 566 of you have responded, and it's only about 6 hours old. So I expect to get more than this. But 566 is a good sampling, and this will give you an idea. The question was, which of these possible Beatle reissues would you be most interested in for 2025? And I gave the following the Beatles in Mono 14 LP box set, just announced. 11% of you voted for that. And then the Beatles anthology box set, 21% of you voted for that. And then I put Rubber Soul. Rubber Soul 60th anniversary box set, and 62% of you want that. And the fourth choice was the Beatles Help album. And the Beatles Help album was released in 1965, just prior to Rubber Soul. Rubber Soul toward the end of the year, right? So, but yet only 6% of you voted for that possibility. Because if you're going to give Rubber Soul its due, I think it's the greater album out of the two. All right. I got to be honest. Between Help has some songs on it that are just as good as some of the best songs on Rubber Soul. There's no doubt about it. But it also has too many covers on that second side, and it's lopsided to me. It just misses the mark by a hair's breadth. I love the album. I love the album, but it falls just shy of Rubber Soul in my estimation. Always has, right? And plus, I like the American cover. That would be, I thought the Americans had the better cover, and the English, Britain had the better album by far, right? Okay, so that's what you guys are thinking regarding all of this. So when I started looking at this, and I'm going, what the hell is going on? I mean, what are we going to do about this, or what would we be willing to spend? And on top of it, with so many clues coming out of the Beatles, I had another question. If they come out with this 14 LP mono set, okay, that's all well and good. That's just a basic reissue kind of thing that's very popular. Everybody's going to get it that wants to get it, and all of that. But that is going to take some serious coin to get. Will that interfere with Rubber Soul if it is included this year? If Rubber Soul indeed does come out, is that going to hurt the sales of Rubber Soul? Right? And if there is an anthology, and even if it's just announced for next year, will that hurt the sales of Rubber Soul from those who have to pay so much for these larger box sets that would cost you more, right? So there's that, okay? And I'm telling you, I'm looking at it and I'm going, this is again some more, just a lot more of the disrespect that we've seen coming for the Beatles albums, and we'll talk about that. Kimberly, yes,
Divining Dragon said that they are ignoring both Help and Rubber Soul this year.
they're what?
They're ignoring both Help
Yeah,
and Rubber Soul, and he said it's unacceptable.
right. You're right, and that was Dragon.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Good point, Dragon. And that is one thought. Yet when I looked up the AI response, dreaded AI, their response was that it's still possible that we are going to get a rubber. So I cannot believe, even under all these announcements and everything. I mean, what can they possibly be thinking? It it's a major album, unless in the recent past, we get a whole lot of what? Compilation albums or re releases. We got the American US albums in mono, re releases, right? Now we're getting the 14 albums re released. And then we're going to get the anthology, and they're sweetening the pot. They're at least hinting at something to do with the anthology project. And how can you possibly brush aside Rubber Soul? I've mentioned this before, and I'm not the only one that believes this. A lot of major rock critics believe this as well. Rubber Soul is classic rock's first masterpiece. It's classic rock's first true album, is how I put it. Okay. It's the first album put out by classic rock that was put out expressly to be listened to as an album. They had an intent, they had a music almost template. Is Of course, the Beatles template is quite wide, right? And they put this out, and it's a grand affair, right? And I remember when it would rank number three in the top 100 albums on Rolling Stone one year. Okay, number three in rock. All right, I think it was beat by two Beatle albums that year, or at least one. I forget, but there was a year it actually defeated Revolver, if you can believe it. And that's the part I want to get to as like the part two of this. I want to have a Beatle against Beatle contest, and I've got an interesting way of looking at it. Okay. And the point of the exercise will be to prove just how genius the Beatles were from the very start. But I want to get to some of your comments tonight, and I'll look for comments on what we're talking about. Okay. Uh, yeah, Johnny 2K6 says bronze steak, but would you buy a Beatle album pitch corrected, a Beatles pitch corrected album though? Now I wouldn't. No, no, they got to stay away from that stuff. Who was that, Johnny? Yeah, they got to stay away from that stuff, Johnny. The Beatles were perfect enough, and any small imperfections only made their genius that much more evident to me. So good point. I love that. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Only Sleeping writes Rubber Soul Super Deluxe box. That's what I'm hoping for, brother. I'm really hoping for that. Or somebody even mentioned, why couldn't we have had a a double box set that would include Help and Rubber Soul, and then make each one of them available to Walmart or something like that. But a box set for both of them, 1965. They both have 60-year anniversaries this year. All right, Dividing Dragon, let's keep pushing it to 50. Oh, we've got 54, but I'm pretty early in the comments. All right, and this is a good time to remind everybody, give me a thumbs up if you would. That helps the YouTube Algo Dragon kind of
Oh,
send this stream off
Redhead
to a
gave us a
wider audience.
super
I
thing.
see that, baby.
Oh,
Let me get
that's
back
so
down to there.
sweet.
Nethead, oh, and we just shot. Were your ears burning, Nethead? We just shouted you out at the beginning of the stream.
Oh,
$2, wonderful. Keep the message coming. And he says, thank you. No, thank you, Nethead. I appreciate it so much.
oh, that is sweet.
That was sweet. Yep, absolutely. So why couldn't we do, both the Rubber Soul and the Help albums and do them both justice? Yeah, my criticisms of the Help album are very, very minor. All right, when you think about it. Let's see who else is here. Johnny too. Okay, I got Johnny's comment. Um, Only sleeping. I still want the super deluxe Rubber Soul. I'm impatient. Me too. I don't want it next year. I wanted it last year. But what did the Beatles do? They gave us the Red and the Blue album, a compilation albums, and now there's talk that they may be giving us the Hey Jude album, another Alan Klein project, just like the Red and the Blue albums, right? And I'm wondering, and this is part of that'll go into my next part, does that mean that the Beatles now, or at least Apple as an entity, with the Beatles having less and less to say, perhaps, are they pushing the songs over the albums? And if that's what they are doing, thinking there's more of a future, pushing not just the singles, but the very well known album cuts and everything, and doing it through compilations and playlists and offerings and everything online, is that the wave of the future, and is that them thinking that that's the way to get brand new Beatle fans rather than just pushing the albums? Can you imagine a young person who has heard Hey Jude or Revolution, Long Winding Road, Let It Be, Lady Madonna, Cross the Universe, the song Help, and then they go, yeah, I want all their albums. They go down and they buy, their very first album. Some of them could be slightly disappointed because this is the early Beatles, not the more grown up version. So they splice a few songs from that early album, this early album, that early album over with some of the more well known later Beatle cuts. And it's a way to maintain interest in the Beatles. The only problem I see with all of that, folks, is the Beatles were known, especially from the point that they quit touring and then they spent the rest of their lives practically in the studio. They were an album band. It was the Beatles that pushed classic rock into being album oriented, all on their own, in my opinion. It was by the power and the influence of the Beatles that the so called classic rock album oriented rock happened to begin with, right? And so if we're pushing individual songs, are we in danger of losing the legacy of their wonderful albums? And shouldn't we be more concerned with educating new possible Beatle fans as they come of age by explaining why? you know, their first album is an absolute masterpiece, and under what conditions it was recorded, how fast it was recorded, how the Beatles blended, how many of the covers that they would handle, like most bands did in those days, and still vying and managing to get 8 cuts of their own on that album. And then when you know the whole story, then that becomes a more pleasant listening sonic experience, doesn't it? And so I think education should be part of that. But shouldn't education be on part of the responsibility of Apple Records itself? That's my question. All right. So Bronx Snake in, Dwayne Chamberlain, 3.5. Brother, what I mean is that not to say they were bad vocalists or never sang in pitch. Mostly they did, as did others I mentioned. But there were numerous examples. Yeah. I'm aware of that. We know that, for example, some of the American albums had Paul McCartney cracking. What song was that? Early song. And he just cracks right out of nowhere. Of course, later on they included the one that didn't have that. Now that's a rarity track kind of thingy, right? But that was part of the charm. But um, look how perfect they were. Their totality of sound, even quite early on. Think of some of those records, how quickly they were made. 2 albums a year, 4 singles. That's 8 more songs a year, and only so much time to do it because they were also early on a touring band. They were on TV shows galore, doing skits and everything, judging beauty contests. I mean, there was not a moment of peace. And they put that kind of output and sounded that good. See, we got to get that message over to the younger audience because that's a near impossibility. People have forgotten how freaking amazed we were at their output, right? Okay, good. Marcus Thompson, we're going to get Rubber Soul at some point. Yeah, I, I hope before I pass on. They aren't intentionally skipping over anything. If there becomes a statement that Rubber Soul is never coming out, then I would understand the disgust. It's not disgust, Marcus, at all, and it's good to see you. Marcus has been in the comments many times over a long time, and I appreciate seeing you in the peanut gallery. It's not discussed at all. It's first of all, at the very least, it's a missed opportunity. A 60th anniversary is pretty big, right? And with the new and with the new technology and what can be accomplished, this would be big. And as I've said, it's rock's first true album. And then on top of that, another disservice that I didn't mention tonight was that what 8 tracks from the album have already been mixed on this new album and just slapped over on the Red and the Blue album. So it's not disgust. It's disappointment though if we don't get this. But I'm still crossing my fingers, brother. I really am. I'm going, no, I'm sorry. It can't be so, not Rubber Soul. They won't disrespect Rubber Soul like that. But discuss, no, never. I'm a major Beatle fan. My number one band of all time, of course. Dividing Dragons writes to Kimberly. I'm not sure the ranker is entirely a good idea. Some active participants will feel hurt if their efforts aren't recognized. It's a little thing, but still, and I agree with you, Christian. The ranking took me by total surprise. Once again, I will say this until I'm blue in the face. This what I didn't push a button, I didn't activate anything. This just happened when just before I got on and I started recognizing I'm going, yeah. And at first I just thought it was like, oh, today first did, and you get a number one, which that I think would be kind of cool to encourage people to get in early, you know. But I don't know. I don't know where, how this happened. I think it's just an automatic thing they do on YouTube now, from what we could find in the very few minutes I had to take a look at that. And I am concerned also, Christian, very much so, that others will get their feelings hurt and feel like, well, I'm not participating in any race. Please, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a race. This is not what we're doing here. All right, at all. Okay, what we're doing here is surviving as a channel. I've reconfigured this channel. This is my fourth season. I've been on for about 3 years. What is it, May? 3 years and 4 months as a rock channel. All right, so we're still real young. And during the course of last year, and with all the political nonsense in the air, a lot of YouTube content creators weren't, especially if you were music oriented, things like that, didn't get the views that you were used to getting and everything. And so I started looking, well, look, if this is going to be, I started refocusing my energies to those who really show up for the majority of my content, right? Rather than being so hyperly concerned on growth, I wanted to focus in on you who I've already got here. Every single one of you tonight, whether you're just viewing this, I saw that. Ben, I'll get right to you because I did want to make this point, but $10, thank you, brother. Um, but every single one of you, if you're viewing right now we have 76 people. I'm surprised we have that large of an audience tonight because Thursdays aren't my normal midday, aren't they? Or are they? Are they? Aren't they? Uh, you know. Anyway, so for you who show up to watch these, to watch my regular videos, you are the first line of offense, defense, whatever fence you want to call it, right? If you didn't exist, there'd be no point in making these videos or no point in streaming. So I love each and every one of you for that. And for those who go the extra distance and give me a thumbs up, we got 64. All right. So we are 36 away from getting a second bump up in the middle of a stream. That usually attracts. We right now are showing up in more home feeds currently, this moment, than we normally would be because you guys have given me those thumbs ups, right? So it always helps to get them in a timely fashion. So there's my second line of offense or defense. Okay. Then, when the few of you who help and can afford to give us a super thanks, I always put it right back into the channel. This is no freaking scam. All right. I'm nowhere near to making a living on YouTube. I can guarantee you. All right. So I don't want that kind of competition. I want this to be a true community. Now, that doesn't mean I don't see some value in this, because if indeed this system is based on input into the channel, that's exactly what I'm going for. I just want to make sure it's not at least heavily favored for super thanks or anything like that. That would kind of put a little, sour in the taste for me. But if it's just based on, input to the channel, and everything, that would be okay with me. All right. Let me see what Ben did here. Oh, Ben, thank you so much. Again, $10. He says, I think they intentionally delay releasing stuff um, and standalone packages to get everyone to buy it. Rent, wash, repeat. It's nothing but a manipulative marketing tactic, and the industry has resorted to. And I hear a whole lot of truth in that statement. All right. It intentionally delay releasing stuff uh, has been seen throughout the industry, I think, in regard to records and everything, waiting for a boil to kind of happen. The only thing is they're intentionally announcing or releasing other stuff that nobody's really asking for. I don't think anybody was asking. There was a little dialogue on the internet. It'd be nice to get an anthology, especially once they did Now and Then, where most people think it belongs over on anthology, even though it's over on the red and blue packaging. So let's take it off that packaging that we kind of took your mind off of Rubber Soul with and put it on this packaging and bring that out to keep your mind off of Rubber Soul. That would bug me. That would bug me badly, right? Royce, it's so good to see you in the chat tonight. Michael, I agree. Output was amazing. Yeah, Royce, right? Again, two albums, four singles. I saw that, baby. And that meant 8 songs, Royce. They had a great output, didn't they, brother? We've talked about that on Royce's channel. I'll get to Michael here in just a minute. Oh, thank you, Michael. $10. You rock,
Oh, you're
and you
awesome.
are a rock star. Now, that's not a line either. That's just a thing. I talk in the weirdest things. I use pop culture things, and I just thought that up one day. I'm going to call them all a rock star. All right, that's all it means. But you are, brother. But Royce, when we think of the output and the speed, that it would take a normal band 2 years to get their first album out, and that's if they were rushing it, right? That's true. And the next album you get is 5 years from the release of that one, or certainly 3 or 4, and then the next one's 5 or 6. And that's the way bands release. Bands that have been together for 30 years got 4 or 5 albums out now. It's bullshit, right? Michael Boswell, once again, thank you so much, Michael. $10.
Oh,
He says Beatles catalog is owned by Sony and masters by Universal Music Group with Beatles input. Um, Kiss did the same thing with Universal Music Group. They will remaster them, in my opinion. Remaster? Are you talking about Rubbers? I think they will definitely. But yeah, thanks for the additional information on this because it's not a one horse pony like it used to be anymore, is it? It's just like it's everybody's got their input into this. And, shares and everything, studies are done and everything. And I think there's a danger of losing contact with the Beatle. You've got to keep your oldest Beatle fans engaged, I think, because they're the ones that will be like the elders to the Beatles fan tribe, right? And you've got to have that with everybody kind of working up the ladder as they go because as we pass on then those who discovered the Beatles in the 90s may be the oldest living Beatle fans on the planet. It's going to happen. You can't stop that, right? But we want to have a good bloodline within the Beatle fandom, I think, and we should always have demands, and this forum is exactly what I'm talking about. All right. We are being heard. In my last stream, we had more comments than we ever had. I forgot. It was a couple, 3,000 comments, something like that. Amazing amount of feedback and everything. All right. So uh, that kind of, what would you call it? Whispering on the lines of the internet isn't unheard, folks. And then, of course, I always have my streams available to rewatch on replay. And if you make comments there, then we can go even further than that, can't we? All right. Now, this brings me, I thought it would be kind of fun to do this because um, Royce was talking about the Beatles output, the speed, based off what I was talking about before and all of that. And let's move over to here. And I just wanted to get this one window up. And their output, how amazing that output was, right? And basically, uh, the Beatles' discography right now that's recognized by Apple are the following: Please Please Me, released in 1963, with the Beatles, again released in 1963, A Hard Day's Night in 1964, The Beatles for Sale, again in 1964, Help in 1965, Rubber Soul, again in 1965, Revolver, the only Beatle album out in 1966, but a revolution when it came out. In 1967, not only did we get Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, but we also got Magical Mystery Tour. Of course, that was originally a compilation album on the American side, but later adopted because I'm reading from the Beatles' official discography. Okay? In 1968, we got the White Album, and that was the only album by the Beatles in 1968, but it was a double album. So we got two LPs as per usual in 1968. In 1969, we got Yellow Submarine and Abbey Road. And then before the spring was out in 1970, we got Let It Be. 14 albums, if you include the Beatles' past masters. Now, I'm not going to include the Beatles' past masters in my comparison here tonight, okay? Because that's a compilation album. So I'm just going to go with the original 13 here. And what I'm going to do, dig this, I'm going to compare the Beatles' first album to the Beatles' last album. Then I'm going to go to their second album, and then I'm going to compare that to their second last album. And we'll meet somewhere in the middle where there will be one album left that I can't compare to, and I will compare it to the winner of the original. All right. And this is just my opinion, folks, but it's kind of a brain tease and kind of get you guys thinking about how good the Beatles were at the beginning as well. All right. So when you compare the Beatles' first album with their last album, Please Please Me from 1963 to Let It Be in 1970, I've got to give it to Please Please Me. Not that Let It Be doesn't have even better songs, right? I mean, it's got Long Winding Road. It's got Get Back, right? Across the Universe. The two of us, right? Two of George Harrison's better songs. Nothing really coming out of it that was like a wow, my guitar gently weeps or a something by him for that album. But they're in his top echelon of songs. They're in his top half, right? But what do we have with Please Please Me? Well, we've got to compare it basically. They're doing covers there. Let It Be has some covers and cover approaches on it. So, all right, that's comparable, right? But when you think of the story and how everything came through and how well the album plays, I hear holes in Let It Be. I always have heard holes in Let It Be. That's why I'm a bigger fan of Let It Be Naked. But just comparing the regular Let It Be album to Please Please Me, it's a close call. But I'd give it to Please Please Me for all the miracles that that album embraced and actually accomplished. The Beatles' second album, With the Beatles versus Abbey Road. Okay. Well, with the Beatles, okay, here's what you can say good about with the Beatles. All right. The music isn't worse than the first album, right? They're following the same format as the first album. What is it? Eight and six, eight originals, six covers, and everything like that. And there are highlights on both and everything. And I will even give it its credit that they come closer to approaching that what America knew as the Beatles sound, right? On this album. But when you compare it to Abbey Road, the Beatles' best album, uh, and by that I mean the best produced album, the most glossy album. It's not my favorite album, but I always have to stipulate it's probably their very finest crafted album ever. Abbey Road would take it, so it's a 1-to-1 split there. Now, their third album, Hard Day's Night, compared to Yellow Submarine. Hard Day's Night wins this hands down. Now, if Yellow Submarine was the Yellow Submarine songbook, that would be a completely different battle. As a matter of fact, I'd probably give it to Yellow Submarine. But Yellow Submarine, as it came out, is, in my humble opinion, their worst album. All right. It's got Hey Bulldog on it, though. So you buy it just for Hey Bulldog. And Paul's ditty is kind of nice, but we already heard All You Need Is Love. And George's stuff is very interesting, and you're glad you have it, but it's not his finest work by far. A Hard Day's Night, 13 tracks, 10 written by John Lennon, the three written by Paul, as good as any of the three you could pick off of the 10 that John Lennon wrote. And it is the only Beatles album that is 120% written by Lennon and McCartney. There's nothing by Harrison on here, there's nothing by Starr, and there are no covers. This is the Beatles' first masterpiece. And so far, early Beatles versus latter Beatles, 2-to-1. All right. That leads us to Beatles for Sale. I think the early Beatles are in trouble, folks. When you compare Beatles for Sale and then you compare the Beatles, or as we like to call it, the White Album, it is no contest. First of all, if I had to pick a second worst Beatle album, I would reluctantly, because there's some good shit on Beatles for Sale. All right. And it was an important album for them to make. And it was an important album for them in songwriting. They were moving forward. There are some wonderful spots on that album, but once too often to the well with the covers, and I didn't care for most of the covers on there, right? And when you compare that to the White Album, well, my God, you know, that many people consider the White Album their favorite Beatle album of all time. As a matter of fact, folks, the White Album for a solid decade was my favorite Beatles album of all time. That was my Desert Island Beatles album. If I could only have one Beatles album. And under these terms, yeah, it probably still would be my Desert Island Beatles album. So 2-2 tie there. We get into Help at this point versus Magical Mystery Tour. And there's where we run into a situation. Yeah, it's a compilation album, but they've embraced this. I know they can embraced Past Masters, but Past Masters are all singles. So that's why they're not on this list. And Magical Mystery Tour is. And compared to Help, again, Help goes to the covers uh, twice too often. All right. The first two albums with the covers are fine. The last two albums with the covers are not fine in my book. And when you compare it to Magical Mystery Tour, who I've even said, or which I've even said, is much more casually listenable to than even Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Doesn't mean it's a better album. The better album is Sergeant Pepper's. There's no doubt about that. But just pulling out an album and you just want to listen to psychedelic Beatles, I often just grab the Magical Mystery Tour album, put that on my turntable and listen away, folks. Right? So that would take it. They take the lead. That leads us to Rubber Soul versus Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. What the hell do I do with this one? First of all, we've got Rubber Soul, rock's first true rock album, and then we've got Sergeant Pepper's rock's first true masterpiece psychedelic album, if not rock's first psychedelic album, but it's the one that it solidifies everything. And with that in mind, that's a tough call. And I'm not even one of those people who go, yeah, but I don't like George Harrison's Within You and Without You. That's my favorite cut on the album. Okay. So this one's a tough call as far as if you're going to just listen and expect an album presentation, Sergeant Pepper would take this. There's no doubt about it. There's no hurting Sergeant Pepper's legacy by stating the following: I'll pick Rubber Soul. That's how big of a fan I am of Rubber Soul. All right. So that only leaves Revolver in the middle with nobody to compete with. But like I said, now we have to look at Rubber Soul and Revolver, the two R albums. The same two albums that George Harrison said, yeah, actually, you could look at them as part one and part two, or part A or part B. George Harrison also said it was a quite pleasant recording experience making both albums, right? And I have often said, boy, I've been listening to so much of Revolver lately that Rubber Soul has been my favorite album for the last decade. All right. Before that, like I said, it was the Beatles or the White Album. But I've been listening to Rubber Soul so much, and I've got to tell you, between these two, Rubber Soul is probably got the most grown up music, but Rubber Revolver does, the most grown up approach and breaking new grounds, especially John Lennon's two cuts, She Said, and Tomorrow Never Knows. All right. And then Paul writing some of the best stuff he ever has on one single Beatle album ever, right? And John still writing some golden opportunities in there, as well as those two monsters. It's wonderful. But I got to go with Rubber Soul again. All right. And Rubber Soul, I was fully capable of changing my mind. I told myself, I'll see how I feel in the moment when I compare these two. I went over it actually and gave it to Revolver at one point. Is it time for me to change yet again my favorite Beatle album after a decade? But I'm going to hold on for a while, although I am gaining so much more respect for Rubber Soul than I ever had before. What do you guys think of that comparison? But did you notice how many early Beatle albums fared very well with latter Beatle albums? And keeping in with first and last, second and second to last, and all of that. So there was no weird thing set up against that or set up to make me draw to a certain conclusion or anything like that, folks. All right, let's get back to your comments here. Let me see. I'm going to just kind of go up a bit and see what you guys have to say here. Thought I saw. Oh, good, Bryce. Okay, good. This takes us off the subject, but I did want to bring this up. Royce has announced that he said, Ben, thank you. We interviewed Mark Farner today. Video out soon. And as I understand it, it's an interview with Royce and Dan from Just the Facts Man, and they're interviewing Mark Farner. And then Dan's going to edit that. He's going to edit one for his channel and edit one for Royce's channel. And Royce, if I'm wrong, you can correct me in all of that. So if I was you, I'd make sure I was subscribed to both those channels, right? I mean, so you can get that latest interview from Mark Farner. So just the facts, man, and Royce in the House. Both channels are brother channels to this channel. Both channels are in my featured list. If you go to my channels page, you'll see that I think I have 5 channels up there now that I actively support. Just the Facts Man and Royce are 2 of them. Okay? All right, real good. Let's see. Bron Snake says, my number one Beatle album is tied. Abbey Road and Let It Be Naked. And in the end, love you make is equal to the love you take. Choke, choke, sniff, sniff. Oh, what a relief it is, huh? Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And as you know, Bron Snake, and by the way, it's good to see you. I've seen Bron Snake before in my comments. Um, I've always said that I prefer Let It Be Naked. I like it stripped down. I like it just kind of presented song by song. And plus, you get Don't Let Me Down by John Lennon, which is the biggest snafu. See, if I had been comparing even Let It Be the way it was presented, along with Don't Let Me Down, then maybe, just maybe, it would have fared better in the comparison. But I agree with you. And Abbey Road is a masterpiece. But then so is Sergeant Pepper for what it accomplished. 4 track versus 16 track at that point. Then when you compare just on those bases, whoa, what is the better album? Let's see, Divining Dragon, John Peterson, so tragic they didn't come to the Genesis model of solo works annually interspersed with group efforts over the 70s. Yeah, good point. John Patterson, good to see you, John. I recall watching the Beatles movie Help for the first time on CBC TV in Canada in 1969. It seemed otherworldly at the time. And I believe the band would play live again. Yeah, when I first saw Help, all I wanted to do was look like George Harrison. I thought he was the coolest looking Beatle in Help. He had the best hair, you know.
Ringo.
Yeah, okay. And Kimberly goes, no, Ringo.
Looking Ringo.
What is it with chicks and Ringo?
Oh,
Chicks just love Ringo.
he's such a man.
Yeah, he's such a man.
The
She
guys look
says.
like boys.
Yeah. The others look like boys, especially McCartney, and she knows what a McCartney fan I am.
They were good looking.
Put a long wig and some lipstick on. McCartney could have been a doll, right?
Ringo's mustache.
Yeah. Good point. Johnny 2K6. Wings of Pegasus, YouTube, sadly exposed that while Let It Be Naked was stripped of all the extra production, get this, it was pitch corrected. Yeah, and I was aware of that. So that's a great point, and I was against that. I was against that. I would have wanted the warts, but despite that, I think it's a better presentation for the material. But that's a good point. Love Wings of Pegasus does a great job over there on that channel. Bronze Snake says my late brother wrote his own Hey Jude lyrics. Hey Jude, I saw you nude. Don't try and fake it. I saw you naked. The rest are too filthy to post. Bronze Snake, you're in the right place. Nedhead, there is a Japanese live streaming called Poka Poco Kai. Is that it? Poco Kai? I've used for 4 years. Um, Rock and Robin Bird, there is such a variety of styles. Let's see what did Rock and Robin Bird say here. Beatles have so many great tunes. Oh, okay. Yeah, and then you're saying so many styles. Absolutely. I mean, you're in this new members video, you guys will get this. Okay. Uh, Led Zeppelin, is this great heavy band. But the Beatles could play that heavy. Revolution is freaking heavy, right? And so is Helter Skelter, and a few others that are quite heavy. How about the first use of feedback? Right? By John Lennon in the studio. He always said, I claim the very first use of feedback before Hendrix, before The Who, by the Beatles. We did it, right? And so they were, they could be real gritty, man. They did so many styles. And then you get this, helter skelter, and all of a sudden, and you want to tap dance, you know? And then you've got like Pink Floyd. You can compare them to Pink Floyd. Oh, Dark Side of the Moon, Animals, right? Or the new album by them that is featured in my latest members only video. I didn't say that. Shh, you're not supposed to know about that. All right. And you have these magnificent albums, and you go, yeah, but then the Beatles, what about I Am the Walrus? Is psychedelic, more psychedelic than anything that Pink Floyd ever put out, as far as I'm concerned, and powerful. That's heavy metal powerful. When you think of I Am the Walrus, my God, what a freaking great tune. All right. And they would back that up. Strawberry Fields Forever, just slow it down and go, ha, now let's get dreamy. And we'll blow your mind even further. Right? Great comment. I love that. Anybody else I'm missing here? Let's see. Irgersplitten Lauterwoman, aka Gear Jam. How you doing, brother? The one thing about the 60s I find so maddening is how live concerts were treated from a recording standpoint. Good point. Glenn Johns did a journeyman's job on the rooftop concert, but everything else was, yeah, yeah. And for Let It Be, you got to understand a lot of that recording was mono recording when they're in there doing all of that shit. Uh, it was videotape recording and stuff, but they got all this new technology. We can rebuild them. We have the technology. The $6 billion Beetle. Divining Dragon, John Peterson says, in my early teen years, I remember the Canadian band Klaatu was believed at the time to be the Beatles reunited. Yeah. And Klaatu, we were talking about the Guess Who on Royce's show last weekend, and I said quite vehemently, I love the Guess Who, but they're only my second favorite Canadian band of all time. And the Klaatu is my favorite. 5 albums. 5 albums, just like the Police. Okay. And what a footprint they put on music in my life with 5 albums in a very short period of time, also. So, good point, John. Let's see if I'm missing anybody else here. We got that one. Yeah, got that one. All right, good, good. Yeah, it looks like I'm kind of caught up on the stuff we're talking about. I just saw Braun Snake's thing about his brother's lyrics. And the others are too dirty to post, huh? Oh boy. Ben Scheidecker calls out to Roy saying, "Just seen you were recommended by Grand Funk Railroad's Mark Farner. That's awesome. Congrats, Royce. Hey, I love that when that happens. It's happened a couple of times on this channel. We got a recommendation and a thumbs up from and even a comment from John from Creedence Clearwater Revival, and it felt great. So congrats, Royce. I love that for you, brother. Dwayne Chamberlain says, remember, Kimberly, the Beatles were a big influence to the hard rock origin. And I absolutely agree. There were no boundaries with the Beatles. They did what they felt like, they wrote what they felt like. It was a muse with both John and Paul saying in different interviews at different times, several times over the decades, that it was almost like some of their songs came through the ethos, from above, from without, and that they were mere channels to get it across, right? And McCartney would clarify that later and say, well, there were work songs. We had our work songs. And he said that didn't mean they were less. It's just that we weren't inspired, but then we'd get into a groove and we'd do it. And sometimes those work songs were less than stellar, right? Even the Beatles didn't hit a home run out of the park. They just hit a single or a double every single time, usually, didn't they? All right, folks, let's see. It's 7:11. I wasn't going to go as long tonight because I'm going to get ready for Royce's stream on Sunday, right? And I've also got a stream on Sunday coming up. Let me know if you want to talk more about this. If you want this to be a Beatle related stream on Sunday, that's fine. If not, I got a couple of ideas for the stream there, right? I encourage you to all show up. I'll be streaming at 5 p.m. On Sunday. That's PST or Pacific Standard Time. And the tribe is international. The tribe is global, right? I've got I've got tribal members from New Zealand, Australia, South America, Central America, Mexico, Canada, the United States, England, Germany, France, and a host of others, Italy, Greece. Okay, I'm running out. I don't want to say a country just in case, just to say a country, but those are countries that I know I've heard from and that I have a viewership in, right? And when we're talking about the Beatles, the world owns the Beatles, right? No one country. I know England's going to go, "You're right, Yank. They're ours, and you can't have them," right? But we adopted them, right? Quite strongly. But what do you guys think? I want to hear from all of you regarding this. How many? And get over and vote on this poll I've got going. Right? Let us know. And if you don't agree with me, you can vote on the poll there. Make your comments known. And this number one, number two stuff that's happening here, you'll get points for that. And I'm going to look into it by the time I do my next stream and give you my whole thoughts on it. It caught me unawares. Quite literally, I became aware of it about 10 or 15 minutes before the stream started. And weren't we, babe? We were frantically look at what's a YouTube. All right, airdrop that one over to me, over to your pads that I have here in front of me, right? And so that's how we got all the information we could get. Now, for those of you that are on that list, at the very least, and from what we read, and I could tell you as I was going through it, these are folks that do a lot of commenting on the channel. They do a lot of voting on the channel. They watch my shorts. They watch my regular videos. They watch my streams, and that's probably where they get this thing going. And this used to be, where it said posts. I wonder if this is if they're going to change posts back to community, because I hate that tag posts, right? I liked it when it was called community, because that's what I've tried to get going here, folks, is the community. See, I call the channel The Bottom Line, right? And when I first started, it was going to be I even told my wife, whatever channel I have, whatever I do, I'm going to be me. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I knew that at first I was doing tutorials on how to edit videos, but I'd also do product evaluations. And I never once backed down, even criticizing several products early on in this channel. But then when I went over to the rock and roll, I didn't change the channel because it's still going to be me. And it was weird that I didn't think about starting a rock channel to begin with my background and everything, right? But I didn't, and this is how everything's evolved. 3 years and about 4 months ago, we became the bottom line. It's a community. And I give you my bottom line, but I've always made room for comments. Look at the comments here. I've read the comments as many as I can do and actually give you a presentation tonight, right? I always spend time responding to you guys, less time nowadays than I used to, say 3 or 4 months ago. But I still put 1 or 2 hours in trying to answer to you guys on my latest video, and then I'm off on to my next project.
Jorge
The video
Pita
has
says
gotten that busy.
anthology boxes. Jorge Pita says anthology boxes.
Okay, yeah, okay. You know what, Jorge? I'd be all for an anthology box. I never got it on vinyl to begin with. I really wanted, and on one night on this stream, Kimberly even said, "Well, maybe we could get that for you for Christmas." So it's not like I don't want the anthology. All right, brother. I love the anthology. As a matter of fact, on that stream, I said, yeah, yeah, the anthology is worth just listening to Paul McCartney's 1 hour demo of Come and Get It. The Beatles weren't in the studio. Paul, as usual, arriving early, the workaholic, right, had written this little ditty called Come and Get It. And he sat down, played the drums, keeping it in his head, right? Picked up the bass, followed that, locked it in with the drums, stopped that, listened to it. Yeah, that's good. Grabbed the guitar, right? Put the vocals, put the backing vocals on, and it sounds to me, I love it better than Bad, and I love Badfinger's version. And when Badfinger recorded it, Paul McCartney said, "This is the version that you record," and that's why they're so damn similar. But listening to Paul sing it, oh, that was the golden moment for anthology, and there were a lot of silver plus moments on that album. And it would be nice, of course, to have Now and Then there, because I'm never going to have Now. I have the 12-inch single. Royce gave it to me. He sent it to me. Thank you, brother. Right? So I've got that when I want to hear that song. And I'm not buying the red and the blue. So plain and simple, I'm not interested in the red and the blue album. All right. All those songs, it sounds great. And I understand for those of you who are younger Beatle fans, no, the red and the blue, that's pretty essential. I understand that. I thoroughly, totally I've said that in the past, right? I hear you on that, but it's not for me. It's just not for me from when I was a fan of the Beatles. It's just another, but the funny thing about that, folks, is I also want the Hey Jude album. And that's nothing more than a compilation, pretty lopsided compilation, and only one album. But I want it because it was released when the Beatles were still a band. To me, that was an album, official Beatle album, right? That was part of their, at the time, discography. And I'd love to have it. All right, so that's what the channel's about. It's my bottom line, but ultimately, it's always your bottom line.
Oh yeah, we need to cover Badfinger.
Yeah, we do.
Retro or
Yeah. I've got to get that new Badfinger. I've got to get the new Badfinger out. Yeah, you're right, Rachel. Absolutely. Yeah, good point. Um, so that's the bottom line. But when we do this live, I call it the tribal forum, and that's what we're doing. Where I get these kind of comments, I respond to them in the here and now. It's one thing to have me respond after I've already recorded a video, edited it and everything, just like my latest one that's going to be coming out. Keep an eye. Uh, but that's a bit after the fact. This is in the moment, baby. All right. I really enjoyed doing this tonight. We got started at 6 o'clock. I'm sorry it was a little late, but like I said, I've been working on this channel since this morning, folks. And quite literally, that members only video uploaded minutes before I actually got on live on the air. And I was uploading it on my iPad and I'm shooting from my iPad. So I can only use it for one thing at a time. All right. I'm Michael Noland. This is the bottom line. This has been Tribal Forum number 37. I thank each and every one of you for your super thanks. I thank each and every one of you for your thumbs up. We have 91, nine more, and we go a second bump up. And on replay, this will get a wider audience. So if you didn't get that, we got 92. Someone went, oh, yeah, I forgot. I do that all the time. Oh, I forgot to give them a thumbs up, right? When I go and watch other people. So I appreciate you doing that. You made the stream a real happy, nice one. We've had some heavy streams lately, and it feels good to just kind of, you know, fall back a little bit and talk about the music because it's always about the music to me, isn't it? All right, folks, I'm Michael Nolan. This is the bottom line. Tribal Forum number 37. I'll see you in Tribal Forum number 38 on Sunday. Right after, I'll be joining Royce on his panel on Royce in the House. All right, folks, and thank you so much for your support. I'll see you in my next stream.